Square Enix is facing a hell of their own making. They only have themselves to blame for creating such trash tier content, not listening to their established fan bases, and really putting the least amount of effort into every project possible. But a major issue that they face is trying to appeal to a global audience that doesn't actually want to buy their content, and now they've been hit with a brutal 100-slide presentation from one of their shareholders about mismanagement, other shareholders asked to pitch in with frank views, and them trashing everything going on with this company. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, this situation is really sad because Square Enix used to make some absolutely fantastic content, but over the years, they have definitely faltered. They've been more worried about having content that appeals to a modern audience or a global audience instead of the fan base that they took decades to cultivate, and they're just getting what they deserve. People are not showing up to buy their games, people are not connecting with the stories that they're telling anymore, and even shareholders are turning on them, and I can't say I feel all that bad. When you are not actually listening to the people that give you money, we are not going to continue to. It says Square Enix has had a rough couple of years, combining $140 million in losses from abandoned projects, the shine slowly fading from Final Fantasy XIV, even if it does look like things are on the up again, and sluggish Final Fantasy sales across the board. Its newer IPs haven't done great either. Remember Babylon's Fall? You'd remember, because it'll only exist in your memories forever. Babylon's Fall had potential, but it was poorly executed live service, and if you even look at Forspoken, I suppose at one point when they first announced it, it seemed like it had potential, but then as it got closer to release, we realized, oh, it's just another game made for a different audience. They're not actually trying to capture the magic of what once sold Square Enix games, and yeah, they lost money on all of these titles, and I'm not going to shed a tear for them. It's almost enough to make me feel sad for a large company, almost, you shouldn't do that, to see it now hit with a 100-slide presentation on its alleged mismanagement from one of its major shareholders, 3D Investment, which holds a 14.36% stake in the company, is now looking to get other shareholders on its side. And even if the shareholders aren't, we know that customers definitely are. As shared by Business Wire, 3D Investment states that Square Enix has, in the 3 years since replacing its president, been facing the following management issues: a sluggish revenue growth rate, sluggish profit margins, more recently, SQEX HD recorded massive impairment losses on game development assets, which lack earning power, so they are in a very serious situation. And a big problem that they point out is that they continue to bank on a future of reboots. They're not focused on what they are truly looking towards. It's not, oh, we want to create all new IPs, or, oh, we just want to continue, let's say, Final Fantasy. Let's make a Final Fantasy 17. They're just talking about reboots, which I understand seems like the safest bet for a company that is losing money because they think nostalgic fans will return, but I just don't see that really happening with Square Enix anymore. And now shareholders are uniting. It says, though, that they won't go through every complaint in the 100-page slideshow, but it's a lot. In fairness, it does kick off with a polite call to action once again: surprise us, move us, and ignite that passion we once felt, for gamers across the globe have been waiting endlessly for that irreplaceable experience. And 56 slides later, they point out that some folks on Metacritic called Forspoken's dialogue cringe, which is a big problem for the Access media, because the media had said Forspoken was pretty good, and they are very bothered by the fact that a game made for Western audiences failed yet again. But we're talking about multiples, and yes, Forspoken came out, it underperformed. They actually ended up shutting down Luminous because of how poorly it did. You have the, oh my gosh, I'm killing them with my freaking mind angle, which we all do certainly remember how badly that went. Babylon's Fall was an okay concept, just very poorly executed. It was extremely repetitive. The combat was clunky. It just felt outdated. And then I'm sure you all remember Marvel's Avengers. Oh my gosh, did that go abysmally for them? They lost hundreds of millions of dollars on that. It was an Avengers game several years too late. The game world and also the characters and really the gameplay were all dull, lacking personality, and lacking charm. And then they expected you to put hundreds to thousands of hours into the grind. Yeah, none of that worked. And if they just went back to delivering high quality products, right, I think that they could have made these games into maybe not 10 out of 10s, right? But at least not 2 or 3 out of 10s. I think that if they had really tried to say to themselves, we want these games to come out and be good, let's put extra people, let's give it extra budget, let's really listen to our customers' biggest complaints and adapt with these games and prove that we will listen to them again, I still think these would have went over way better. But Square Enix has gotten to the point where this chasing a global audience angle isn't working for them, so much so that they recently announced mass layoffs as a restructuring plan pulls development from overseas. So they are abandoning this big strategy they've been on about for over a decade, and I've made many videos on them firing what really is a large amount of people from America and also Europe. And it seems that maybe they're finally understanding what we're criticizing them over, but you won't really know until years down the line and they're releasing new content and we see what that content really is, because it looks like, wow, they are backed into a corner and they have to make a major change or else they're going to go under. But a lot of companies really just don't know how to take consumer feedback into consideration these days, and a lot of them just feel like they can do no wrong. Square Enix is implementing a fundamental restructuring, pulling resources away from overseas development studios and putting over 100 jobs at risk. And we now know that it's far more than just 100 jobs. According to an internal presentation now published on Square Enix's website, a fundamental restructuring of the overseas publishing organization is being implemented with the aim of further strengthening global publishing capabilities and improving operational efficiency. According to IGN, this forms part of a push to consolidate its publishing business and focus on its own game development in Japan, and this could be such a big win. The reason why the Square Enixes and Nintendos of the industry got so big is because they were Japanese, because they were doing something different, because they were providing us with fresh, new, innovative experiences. And now that a lot of these companies, yes, are more focused on pandering to Western audiences, we've seen them just become the same as the AAA companies in the West, and that is not a good move. They need to differentiate again. They need to try at least to take a risk. And I know sometimes taking a risk isn't that easy, but the risks that they have taken over the years, like with Forspoken and Marvel's Avengers, were never going to work out, and they never should have went in that direction. And I hope going forward, maybe they can turn things around. They would definitely need to fire their internal ethics department. They would need to stop censoring their developers. They would need to actually start just thinking outside the box again and hiring talented, unique-minded individuals. And yeah, I think that they could start making money again, going in the green again. But Square Enix has definitely milked the reboots and remakes for all they're worth. Some of their new IPs were harshly criticized, like Babylon's Fall, Forspoken, and Marvel's Avengers, and I do think that it would take several years for them to turn things around, but given they fired a lot of activists recently, and they're saying their focus again is on Japan, all of this looks like it could be good, but we'll have to see in a few years if they actually change things at all. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.